I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is my feature author of the month of July, award-winning novelist with a deep interest in peace, no other than Mr. James Janko.
Yes, good to be with you, Danielle. And my fourth novel, The Wire Walker, is going to be released in September 23rd. And it takes place primarily in Palestine, in Nablus, in the West Bank. There are scenes in this novel that take place in Tel Aviv as well. And I've been to that area twice, as recently as January of this year. I was in the West Bank, and I originally went there in 2017 when I was researching this book. And I became very interested in circus and the idea that the arts can sometimes inspire peace when politics fails. And I knew there was a circus in Nablus, the Nablus Circus School. So I went there. I made wonderful friends, including Mahmoud Masri, who's the founder of the circus, and Mohammed Shafi, who's the current manager of the Nablus Circus School. And it's a great place for the youth of Nablus. It's a cultural hub. They also have theater.
Yes.
And it's a great place.
Mr. James Janko, thank you so much for sharing your award-winning piece to the world, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And beyond the literal act, what does while walking symbolize about the modern existence? Is it about rest, balance, visibility, or something deeper?
It's about all of those and more. The story primarily takes place in the Balata refugee camp in Nablus, and it's extremely crowded. There are 30,000 people approximately living in 1 square kilometer. And the narrator of my novel, Amal is her name, she lives in an alley so narrow the walls hold their breath. That's how I describe it. And I've walked down these alleys where you can reach out, and my arms are not long, but I can reach out and touch both walls. So it's a story about primarily about a refugee family, and the girl, the wire walker, she lives on the first floor of a 4-story building. And there's just this narrow passage up to the sky. And what she sees when she looks up, it's kind of a tightrope sky. It is so narrow. And that's her life. You know, she's living there. She's expected to be there the rest of her life. But because of her talent, and the book takes place in 2019 and 2020. And at that time, it still was possible for an artist, a Palestinian artist, to visit Israel and perform and be in artistic communities in Israel, which is what she does. But mostly the story takes place in the Balata refugee camp in Nablus.
Interesting novel, Mr. James. And what personal experience or cultural observation convinced you to tightrope walking perfectly captures today's human condition?
Especially for Palestinians today, they are being squeezed from every corner. There are more and more settlements, and the settlements that already exist are expanding, and Palestinians are being pushed off of land that often they've been there for many centuries. And 20 new settlements have just been announced. So they are being pushed into smaller and smaller spaces. So literally, they are walking a tightrope. Uh, the areas where they live are smaller and smaller.
Hmm, definitely. How does the book explore the tension between needing safety nets and the truth that true transformation often requires risking the fall?
Yes, this wire walker in my book usually does not have a safety net. When she performs and practices in Tel Aviv with a professional circus, she does. But in her own community, she does not have a safety net when she's in Palestine. Um, you know, I want you to know, Danielle, I have experience in war. I was a combat medic in the Vietnam War. I was with a platoon, and so I understand difficult situations, and I think in part through that experience, I was able to see into this other culture and this other person, the wire walker that I write about. But I think the first place where I started was my own war experience, and and then I gradually stumbled onto her voice after many attempts to write the book from a white perspective. I tried that many times and it failed, and I realized I had to really tell this from being there on the ground, what it's like there in person, not as an observer on the periphery.
Interesting indeed, Mr. James. And what the fundamental fear or misbelief that your protagonists carry into the wire? How does High Wire force them to confront it?
Um, this is the world that she's been given. She's living in a space that is so small, and she wonders, what can I make of this? And she's an artist. She is extremely disciplined, and she doesn't have the equipment of a professional wire walker, but she runs up and down alleys. She lifts weights with bricks. She teaches herself gymnastics. She watches YouTube. She watches, Philippe Petit and the Flying Wallendas, all the great ones on YouTube, and she studies them and then learns her own way to walk. For her, it's about freedom. You know, this is what she has that she can call her own. It's her freedom.
Well, truly freedom, Mr. James. And is the antagonist a person, a system, or the protagonist's own psyche? How does this heighten the stakes?
The protagonist often has her own life in danger. She doesn't have to be on a wire 100 feet in the air to experience danger. She experiences it every day. Um, and her being on the wire is a way for her to cope with her fear, to lessen her fear, and to have agency in a world where she has been denied the most essential freedoms in most cases. But she forms a really delicate and beautiful friendship with a Jewish Israeli girl, a juggler, also in a circus. And they come together in Tel Aviv when they practice and perform together. And, this book I see it as a prequel. It takes place in 2019 and 2020 when conditions are so difficult in the West Bank, but they've only gotten worse and worse. And I see this book as a prequel to all that has unfolded since 2019, 2020.
Mr. James, what techniques does the book offer for maintaining radical focus amidst of chaos? How can readers apply this daily overwhelm?
How can readers what? I missed that last part.
How can readers apply this to a daily overwhelm?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, anyone who reads this book in its entirety is going to fall in love with the narrator. Her humanistic qualities, her kindness, her deep compassion. I can guarantee that. You read this book in its entirety, and you'll never forget the girl on the wire. Amal Tukan is her name. And never forget Palestine. And I hope also never give up on the idea of peace between Palestine and Israel. So yeah, that's what, if they can bring that into their daily lives, more kindness, more compassion, healing through the arts. This is applicable. This can go into anyone's daily life and enrich that life.
Mr. James, how do you reframe instability or mistakes mid-wire as necessary for growth, not failure?
Yeah, she falls many, many times, and that's how she improves. And the way she practices sometimes is she has a very good friend named Maisa, who is a juggler and a contortionist and lives in the same alley. And they practice together. And sometimes she'll string a wire just a few feet off the ground. And her friend Maisa, she'll get on the wire, and then her friend Maisa will shake the wire back and forth to try to, so that she really has to struggle to keep her balance. And she'll fall many, many times before she learns how to, play to sway and learn to even remain on the wire when it's as if a storm is blowing through, and she's able to maintain her balance. So she learns by falling, and when she challenges herself like that, she doesn't string her wire high. She's not going to break a leg or something. She has it low, and she can do things that are very difficult for any wire walker. Even the great Philip Petit, who was the greatest ever, she studies these great wire walkers on YouTube. She doesn't have access to be anywhere near them, but she learns from them and then finds her own way to walk. And she said there are two things for a wire walker to learn: walking and falling.
Indeed. Mr. James, let's talk about the risk, failure, and transformation of your novel. How does the book redefine failure? What practices help characters recover after a plunge?
After a plunge, the narrator, Amal Tukan, doesn't always get up fast. She takes her time. She really concentrates. What happened? What might have I done better? she takes her time, and then she will rise. At one point in the book, she breaks her ankle, and she's unable to walk for a long time. She is a persistent and inspired person. She has a will and a heart that is so full of love that she's irresistible. And when a person has these qualities, however they're beaten down by their lives, by their conditions, by the lack of opportunities. And let me tell you, in the Balata refugee camp, there's very, very little opportunity. She is a blessing to everyone around her and to herself.
Mr. James, as an award-winning author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short-term goal is for this book to be read by many thousands of people, because I really believe, Danielle, that this, books can change lives. They can change how people see the world. And we need that so badly now. The arts, I think, are underestimated for their power to change consciousness, to bring about the really radical changes that we need to attain peace. In my lifetime, I'm not a young man. And so my short-term goal is that this book, along with many other great books about Palestine and Israel, that it has its place and it contributes. And long-term, I want to write till I die. It's what I'm made to do,
Yes.
It's what and I feel like I've been writing for quite a few years now, and some people really have to write. There aren't many of them, but I am one.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. James, and looking forward for more and more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an award-winning author like you?
Oh, read great books. I mean, I know everybody tells you that you got to read, but you do. I mean, you have to read great books and fall in love with the language, fall in love with story.
True.
Find your favorite writers and really study them. Read everything that your favorite writer has written. And then, you might imitate for a while, but then you're going to have to find your own voice. But at the very beginning, you've got to fall in love with language and story to be a novelist.
Definitely. And Mr. James, can you share your recommended book or books that influence your journey? And thank you for your advice.
Yeah, I actually have a few books that really influenced me in this writing. Palestinian Walks by Raja Shahada. And in this book, you really are able to understand the love for the land that Palestinians have. And, it's an ancient practice that in the rural areas, they'll name every wadi and spring and hillock and escarpment. They name everything in their area. And the love of the land is here. Adania Shibli is an incredible fiction writer. She's my favorite Palestinian fiction writer. She's from the West Bank. This is Minor Details. Minor Details, the name of it. Classic, writers that I've read over and over for many, many years. Michael Ondaatje, he's Canadian, actually, born in Sri Lanka, but lived most of his life in Toronto. Michael Ondaatje just writes like an angel. Maxine Hong Kingston. Um, these are writers I have read for decades. I keep going back to them.
Well, thank you for that recommendation, Mr. James. I hope people will read it and for sure they will empower. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. James, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and my book 101 review in 5th season too, comedy 101 in 2nd season, and my food 101 in 5th season as well. Geography 101 in 4th season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in 4th season, as well as Movie 101 review, Music 101, and Science 101. And of course, my Sex 101 in its 1st season.
Wow.
Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast.
You're a busy man.
Yes, indeed, Mr. James. And what's one step you hope readers take after closing the book to walk their own wire with more courage?
Oh, I'll read the quote that prefaces the book is by Louise Erdrich. It goes like this.
Yes, go ahead.
But let me see if, using these words as a little plot of land and my life as a cornerstone, I can build you a center. So you bring your life, your words and your life to everything you do.
Mr. James Janko, my feature author of the month of July, award-winning author, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you are doing right now?
Yeah, please. This is the book that I'm promoting right now, The Wire Walker. Yes, thank you.
Yes, people, when it will be published, Mr. James?
It'll be released on September 23rd, and I'll be reading at City Lights Bookstore in San Francisco on that night.
Awesome. Yes, people, let's support Mr. James Janko, because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering books, novels like this to come. So, Mr. James, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. All right, I'll be in touch.
More to come, people. See you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.